You didn't land on this by accident. If you have ever whispered a desperate prayer and heard nothing back, if you have watched good words evaporate into a ceiling of silence, you are exactly who this was meant to find. You were taught to measure prayer by volume, by length, by the heat of your pleading. You were handed formulas and sacred checklists and told that somewhere in the pile of correct words God would finally notice you. When the crisis came, you did all of it. You did it sincerely, and the world still broke in your hands. That ache you carry is not proof that God is far. It is proof that you were never shown the way Jesus actually prayed. Look at how you were trained. Repeat it again. Say it louder. Tighten your voice until it trembles. Add a new verse as if heaven were a safe that opens to the right combination. You were told the secret lives in the outer posture. Knees here, hands there, eyes closed, head bowed, while your mind storms and your heart fractures. And when nothing changed, someone said, "More faith, more words." You tried to manufacture both, then felt guilty when your throat went dry and your hope did too. Here is the sentence that undoes the machinery. You were not abandoned, you were misdirected. Jesus warned about empty phrases, not because words are evil, but because words can become a wall between you and the one who never left. He did not train beggars. He awakened sons and daughters. He did not stage performances to impress crowds. He slipped away from crowds. When everyone expected spectacle, he chose secrecy. When everyone expected thunder, he chose a way that almost no one could control. If you feel a quiet burn in your chest right now, that is not emotion. That is recognition. You have always suspected there was a door religion forgot to mention. You have wondered why the stories say God moved before the sentence finished, why the power flowed and the words were so few. You have sensed that prayer is not a speech but a state. This is where the turning begins. Not with a new script, not with louder volume, but with a single admission. If the Father already knows what you need, prayer cannot be an information transfer. If Jesus withdrew before the miracle, prayer cannot be a last-minute plea. If he called the secret place in rather than out, prayer cannot be a hunt through buildings for a God who lives in yours. Stay with me. On this path, you do not become more religious, you become more real. You do not collect techniques, you shed disguises. You do not climb toward a distant sky. You recognize the nearness that has been stalking you with love since your first breath. And you will not be asked to abandon reason or your life. You will be asked to abandon the lie that distance is holy. 7 revelations unfold in this journey, but the first is enough to split a life in two. Prayer works when you stop performing for a God you imagine is absent and start consenting to the God who already moves in you. That shift is not poetry. It changes how you speak, how you decide, how you act under pressure, how you love people who do not love you back. It turns the night of uncertainty into a room with a light on. You have been told you are small and the distance is great. You are about to discover that the distance is the illusion and the smallness was borrowed from someone else's fear. You are not here to master a ritual. You are here to remember a relationship. You are not here to earn attention. You are here because you already have it. If your heart is arguing with your history, good. Let it. The part of you that survived the silence is the part that knows what comes next. The path is simple enough to offend the experts and strong enough to hold the heaviest life. You are minutes away from the doorway that almost no one points to, not because it is hidden from you, but because it is hidden as you. The world taught you to throw your voice upward. Jesus quietly taught something else. He named a place and said to go there. He didn't say build it. He said find it. He didn't say someday. He said when. And when you do, everything changes. You are not being asked to believe a slogan. You are being invited to test a way. If you follow it, the next crisis will not break you the same way. The next decision will not own you the same way. The next prayer will not end with a ceiling. It will end with a door. That door has a name, and it is much closer than you think. Keep listening. The next moments do not add weight, they remove it. The old training is going to feel loud as it falls. Let it fall. What remains is what Jesus trusted before every miracle he ever touched. The door is the inner room. Let me show you where it has always been. When Jesus spoke about prayer, he did not hand out a public script. He pointed to a geography and used one word most people turn into furniture: within. Go into your inner room. Not a broom closet, not a corner of a building that locks at night, not a place you visit once a week while the rest of your life lives somewhere else. He was describing a chamber that moves as you move, a sanctuary stitched into your awareness, a holy of holies no human can police. The ancient temple kept its most sacred space behind a heavy veil. One man once a year entered to stand where presence was said to dwell. That veil was a boundary of fear as much as fabric. Keep out, you are not enough. The story of Jesus ends that sentence with a tear from top to bottom. The message is not enter the correct building. The message is the building entered you. If that sounds too simple, remember why simple is threatening. Complicated prayers require managers. Inner ones require honesty. Systems can monetize long performances. They cannot monetize a heart that knows its doorway. What is this inner room? It is the place in you where you are no longer auditioning. It is where you are not trying to become worthy enough to be heard. It is where the one who knows meets the you who finally stops pretending. No mask survives there. No script is needed there. Silence is not emptiness there. It is presence without pressure. Do not confuse quiet with passivity. The inner room is not retreat from life. It is the control room for it. In that chamber, you stop throwing words at a horizon and begin consenting to what is true at the center. The result is not numbness. The result is clarity. The noise from 1,000 expectations begins to thin. The compulsion to impress starts to look small. The habit of bargaining fades because you see how strange it is to bargain with the love that already gave you breath. Jesus spoke about a single eye. He was not calling you to stare at the ceiling. He was calling you to an undivided gaze. In the inner room, your attention gathers. When attention gathers, power concentrates. When power concentrates, action simplifies. You stop scattering your life in 10 directions to look spiritual. You start doing the one necessary thing with a clean yes. You have tasted this before without having language for it. The moment before you said the sentence that finally told the truth. The second you knew which door to close and felt peace, not guilt. The clarity that rose in a crisis when you acted from a calm you could not explain. That was your inner room showing itself through you. No incense, no microphone, just alignment. Religion fears this because it reduces dependence on the stage. But Jesus did not fear it. He lived from it. He left crowds for it. He acted after it. He moved with the quiet authority of someone who had already said yes in a place no one could see. When he said the Father knows before you ask, he was not discouraging prayer. He was dignifying it. He was saying, step into the chamber where asking is not a performance but participation. Here is the scandal and the relief. You do not build the inner room by effort. You recognize it by honesty. You do not unlock it by perfect phrases. You notice it when the pretending stops. The moment you stand in truth about your fear, about your desire, about your limits, you feel the floor that never moves. That floor is where prayer actually stands. This is why the loudest prayers can leave you empty and a single quiet yes can change a day. This is why your mouth can be full and your heart can be starving, and why one unforced breath of honesty can feed you more than an hour of spectacle. The inner room is not a technique, it is your truest home. You are not invited because you finally became impressive. You are invited because you were always loved. If you have been waiting for permission, take it. The veil has already been torn. If you have been waiting for a leader to open a door, notice the handle in your hand. If you have been waiting for a feeling, remember that feelings follow focus. And when your focus belongs to the one who already knows, you stop measuring prayer by the echo you get back and start measuring it by the life that begins to move forward. This is the decoding. This is the map Jesus hid in plain sight. And now that you see the doorway, the next question is the only one that matters. What did he actually do in there? Because if the Father knew before he spoke, and if the miracles followed the moments alone, then the structure of his prayer was never persuasion. It was something else. Something most people talk around and very few name. It was alignment. It was, if the Father already knows, why did Jesus pray at all? Because his prayer was not persuasion, it was alignment. He did not try to move heaven, he let heaven move him. Watch the pattern hiding in plain sight. He steps away from noise, he becomes undivided, and he returns carrying the calm authority of someone who has already agreed with love. The miracle is not a reward for good phrasing. It is the overflow of a life that stopped arguing with the truth. Alignment begins where performance ends. You drop the urge to impress God and you face what is real in you. The fear, the desire, the fatigue, the jealousy, nothing disqualifies you when you stop pretending. Honesty is not the opposite of faith. It is faith refusing to lie. When you stand in truth, your attention gathers. That single gaze Jesus spoke of is not a mystical trick. It is concentration without self-deception. From that state, words shrink and weight grows. A single sentence spoken from alignment does more than an hour of beautiful noise. You have felt the counterfeit, the long prayer that secretly tries to control outcomes, the tone that grows theatrical because emptiness is echoing back. Alignment is the opposite. It is consent, not passivity, but a strong yes to what love is already doing. It sounds like this inside you. I will not ask to be made impressive. I will ask to be made accurate. I will not perform for the room. I will stand with reality and act from there. 3 movements carry you there. First, attention. You withdraw it from fear's predictions and gather it to the present where God actually meets you. Second, humility. You let go of the script that paints you as either the hero or the failure, and you accept being the beloved. Third, consent. You agree to be led even when the path is not efficient for your ego. These are not techniques to master. They are positions of heart that make you truthful. And truth is conductive. What changes when you pray like this? Your voice loses strain. Your choices lose the metallic taste of anxiety. You stop asking for a future that would let you avoid courage and start partnering with a present that requires it. Some requests dissolve because they were negotiations with fear. New sentences rise in you that are not petitions but commissioning. Go, call, release, forgive, feed. The inner room does not erase action, it clarifies it. This is why Jesus could speak so briefly before acting so boldly. He had already let himself be aligned. The current carried him. Crowds felt authority in him even when he used few words. He did not drag heaven onto the scene, he let heaven speak through the scene. And that is why his prayer life scandalized professionals. Nothing to manage, nothing to sell, nothing to praise except a life quietly in tune. You are not being invited to become a minimalist stoic who never asks for anything. Ask, but ask from alignment, not from panic. Ask like a son or daughter who already belongs, not like a stranger at a locked gate. Your requests will become truer and your answers clearer. Sometimes the clarity will be to act, Sometimes it will be to wait without self-betrayal. Either way, the desperation that once defined prayer will give way to trust that defines you. Here is how you will recognize the shift. You will stop bargaining with God to change other people while you remain unchanged, and you will begin to change in ways that quietly invite others to follow. You will stop praying as if God were late and start living as if love is early. The smallest faithful step taken from alignment will carry a force your loudest speeches never did. And when alignment holds, something inevitable follows. Something that frightened the systems of his day and still unnerves the ones built to replace presence with performance. Alignment births embodiment. And embodiment is what most people hint at but few dare name. You become the prayer. Look at the life of Jesus through this lens and the stories rearrange themselves. The leper kneels and hears, "I am willing." That is prayer in motion. The outcast is defended while stones grow quiet. That is prayer taking a stand. Hungry crowds sit on grass and receive bread that should not exist. That is prayer with hands. Children are blessed without paperwork. That is prayer that refuses cynicism. None of it depends on spectacle. All of it depends on alignment expressing itself as love. This is the step institutions call dangerous because it cannot be outsourced. When you live aligned, you do not need permission to be kind, to forgive, to give, to tell the truth. You carry the sanctuary with you and rooms notice. The pressure to advertise holiness evaporates because reality does its own advertising. People feel relief around you without knowing why. The temperature of conflicts drops when you speak. Hope gains an accent when you walk in. That is not charisma. That is congruence. Becoming the prayer does not mean pretending to be perfect. It means refusing to betray love when imperfection is on full display. You answer cruelty without borrowing its tone. You accept responsibility without performing shame. You choose a slow good over a quick victory that would cost your soul. In that posture, your life becomes a doorway others can use. They do not join a club. They encounter a person through a person. Systems resist this because embodied love does not sit still under management. It breaks hierarchies that thrive on distance. It pulls spiritual language down to street level, where the poor, the grieving, and the angry can understand it without a translator. That is why Jesus was accused of disrespecting the sacred while he was restoring it. He refused to trade living prayer for theatrical faithfulness. He chose the table with sinners over the seat of honor because the table was where the prayer would feed someone. You are called into the same scandal, not into drama, but into depth. You will know you are walking it when reputation becomes lighter than responsibility. When applause grows suspicious and quiet joy feels like home, when outcomes matter but obedience matters more. Miracles may or may not follow. Integrity will. And integrity is its own miracle in a world trained to perform. Let this settle. You do not carry God like a badge. You reveal God like a fragrance. You do not announce access. You create it. The meeting in your calendar becomes a meeting with mercy because you are there. The decision about money becomes an act of trust because greed is not directing you. The conversation with someone who wounded you becomes an unrepeatable chance to end a cycle. That is what living prayer looks like when no one is filming. Very few people reach this chapter because it costs the one thing the ego refuses to surrender: control over the story. But if you have followed this far, you already sense why the cost is worth it. Control can make you efficient. Only love can make you alive. When you become the prayer, you stop keeping score of spiritual points and you start keeping faith with a person. Your life becomes less about proving you are right and more about proving that love works. You have been told you are too small for this. That is a lie learned from loud rooms. The quiet rooms tell another story. They say you are the place where heaven finds a human voice, a human face, a human touch. You are not a messenger delivering a distant letter. You are the letter being read by a world that has forgotten how to hope. And every line written in you by alignment will be a line someone else needed to see. This is not self-importance. It is responsibility. And it will not isolate you. It will connect you to the long, quiet lineage of people who carried fire without needing a stage, the ones who kept showing up, kept telling the truth, kept forgiving, kept feeding, kept opening doors that fear tried to weld shut. You join them not by signing a pledge, but by living one. Hold your courage. The final seal of the method is simple and costly and freeing. It does not add rules. It clarifies your walk so completely that tomorrow will feel different even if nothing around you changes. What seals it? Not a ritual you perform, but a way you continue. You will be told that what you felt today will fade. Let it be the first lie you refuse to carry home. The inner room is not a mood to chase, it is a way to walk. You do not need a quiet building to keep it. You need a clear decision to live from it. The world will invite you back into performance by breakfast. Answer with presence. Here is the seal. You choose agreement before agenda. You begin your day already aligned instead of negotiating your way there at midnight. You stop praying as if God were late to your life and you start moving as if love is early. This is not a technique, it is a stance. When you forget, and some days you will, you return without drama. Returning quickly is how saints are born in ordinary schedules. You will face 3 crossroads again and again. Let them become your questions of accuracy. First, am I acting from fear or from love? Fear can wear a holy mask. Love does not need one. If the sentence you are about to speak shrinks someone to make you feel safe, you are not in the inner room. Second, am I trying to prove or to give? Proving is performance in a suit. Giving is alignment with the one who already gave. Third, am I begging outward or answering from within? If you hear yourself auditioning for worth, stop. Worth was settled long before you could talk. These questions do not condemn you. They free you. They do not make you slower, they make you clean. Do not wait for a perfect week to begin. Begin in the middle of the imperfect one you have. The office with fluorescent lights is as qualified as any cathedral. The conversation you dread is as holy as any hymn if you refuse to betray love inside it. You will not always feel brave. You will simply remain honest. Honesty keeps the current open when excellence cannot. When decisions come, do not dress them in dramatics to make them spiritual. Do the next true thing, true. Often it will be small. An apology without self-defense, a boundary that protects your clarity, a generosity that does not need to be witnessed, a refusal to participate in gossip because you will not trade presence for approval. The world will not cheer these moments, but heaven recognizes its own voice in them, and your soul will too. You will be tempted to measure the path by outcomes. Resist that metric. Jesus measured by fidelity. Did I stay aligned? Miracles sometimes follow, integrity always can. If doors open, walk humbly. If they do not, keep the room. Alignment is never wasted. It fertilizes tomorrow in a soil you cannot see. Community matters here. Solitude forms you, fellowship sustains you. Walk with people who value reality over performance, who would rather hold you to honesty than applaud your persona. Speak to each other in the language of the inner room. Few words, much weight. Guard one another from the hunger for spectacle. Share what is working, not to build a brand, but to keep the flame fed. This channel is a gathering point for the hidden ones who recognize the sound of home. If this teaching met you exactly where you needed it, mark it. Not as a transaction, but as a vow. Like this as your signal, subscribe as your remembrance, and write, I keep the inner room in the comments so the scattered can find each other. That sentence is not decoration. It is a line you cross. You are not stepping into a life without conflict. You are stepping into a life where conflict cannot steal your center. You will grieve without collapsing. You will work without worshiping your work. You will love difficult people without becoming a doormat or a mirror of their harm. Why? Because the room is not a refuge from the world. It is the place from which you re-enter it carrying a different weather. When you fail, and you will not perform penance to buy your way back. You will return by telling the truth and consenting to be led again. Shame will try to keep you at the threshold. Love will already be inside, unafraid of your learning curve. That is how the seal holds. You refuse to make distance sacred. Let this be your closing and your beginning. You are the temple. You are the place of meeting. You are the answer to prayers you once threw at the sky, not because you became grand, but because you finally became honest. The door is not above you. It is not ahead of you. It is in you, and it is open. Walk through it now, and keep walking tomorrow.